Morning, everybody. Pleasure to be in front of you again today. So I want to start off with a couple of things. Number one, not tripping over this cord. Number two would be a little bit of backstory on how we come to play into your community again. So we get a delegation of authority from the agency administrators. That's our authority to take action on this incident. It's got a boundary, et cetera. And off that, we have leaders' intent documents that are provided to us, and we build objectives for success in our mission here for up to 2 weeks, which is our assignment length for an incident management team. Those get wordy. Those are for us to work on internally at the leadership level, and we try and translate that down to the firefighters and to you folks on the ground. So yesterday morning at the 0600 briefing, which was again our day one, I boiled it down to 2 things. We want to put the fire out and get you folks back into your homes. Pretty understandable. Within that, that's a very complex task, and that's for us to work through as a team, and again as a community with you all, to what that looks like. So I want to talk about the firefight that we had yesterday. And it wasn't really a firefight because we had a lot of help from Mother Nature in that rain that we heard about, right? Great thing. So we had a really good day for the firefighter, out there being productive, protecting homes, doing perimeter suppression, gathering data, etc. It's not lost on me that you folks have not had a good day in a while. So I'm really cautious on how that word looks. I'm very hopeful that for today, the second piece of that, getting you folks back into your homes, that you're going to hear some good news. Okay, we had a meeting at 8:30 today with some folks, leadership, law enforcement, county folks, city folks, and we talked about evacuation levels. And as of yesterday when I left this meeting, my focus was building a repopulation plan with all parties involved. What does that look like to get you folks back in to where you need to be to see what may be left of your homes or if they're still standing? And if you lost your home, I'm deeply sorry for that. We're doing our best to get you back in there to see what is still there and what it looks like. But be honest, if I'm not going to be anything else, I'm going to be honest with you. There's some devastation out there, okay? This fire was devastating, had some severe impacts, and getting you folks back in there to see what that looks like and start the rebuilding process, both emotionally and physically, is our goal. And we started that yesterday as soon as I left this meeting. So please pay attention to the briefing that you're going to get today. As Stan said, we're definitely going to be here as long as we need to be to answer your questions and make sure your concerns are answered. And I hope that you guys have a better day today than you had yesterday. Thanks for listening to me.
Thanks, Dan. Next up is Mike Kittlestead, Undersheriff.
Thanks, Stan. I was here a couple days ago. Things are improving, which is a good sign. Our meeting this morning, the good news I have to share is that we will be changing a couple of the zones, downgrading them. Those will happen in the next couple hours. Please give us time. We're redrawing the polygons, moving traffic control, working on that. So that will get pushed out through the various social medias. It'll eventually end up on Watch Duty, which I think everybody in this room probably has that app. But please, for the most accurate information, always check Spokane County Emergency Management, PN1, PNW3, your website.
It's Northeast Fire Information Facebook.
Okay, so Northeast Fire Information Facebook page has that as well. The most accurate information will be Spokane County Emergency Management, District 4 Fire, the government agencies. Watch Duty is a nonprofit, and they pulled that from there. We've seen pretty good accuracy on that, but we're going to put out the actual. Those zones are going to be south of Tallman will change. That will be downgraded, as well as the area west of Chowroy will be downgraded. So give us some time. They are not open right now. Within the next couple hours, we will be doing that. So I get it. You all, I live out in the county, on the rural area as well. We've had fire look at our house before in the neighborhood. 96 firestorm went through there, so I'm familiar with it. So as we're driving around, all my deputies are very much putting themselves in your shoes as much as we can to try to remember when the frustration levels get high at control points and things like that, to remember what these folks are dealing with. And so hopefully we're being good stewards of that and being good examples. For that, when we have these control points, just to make it as easy on everybody as possible, we are letting people go back to their homes to check on those in those level 3 areas, but please have something with your address on it, and to show if you have people, if you're doing work there and you have someone bring up water or fuel or food or something to a control point, please plan on meeting them there and escorting them in, because as you know, we have people that don't always tell us the truth and want to get into areas and take advantage of a terrible situation. So that is That is the extra step we're doing to help protect your homes when you can't be there to do it. So please kind of meet us in the middle with that. Two other real quick things I want to touch on are drones. Yesterday, we had another drone or more incidents where they're up flying, and that causes issues for us. So please do not have your drones up in the area anywhere where those helicopters are working. They can, even if you're miles and miles away, they can spot it, and it's a danger to the helicopter pilots and that crew. And every firefighter, every helicopter pilot, every officer working the scene, and on all civilians, we're hoping will not suffer any injuries or having incidents. So please cooperate with that. The other thing is we're having people going home and getting back to life and recreational shooting. We've had calls on that. We had some this morning. Believe it or not, please, if you're in any area near where fire activity might be, the minute rounds start going off, the firefighters don't know what's going on, and they're going to cease, pull back to their rigs, and call for us to go up and deal with someone who's just plinking and target shooting. So please, let's hold off on that in this area till we get through this. You know, that just kind of is common sense, but not necessarily so common sometimes. So please let us know if there's anything we can do from the Sheriff's Office. We are a big part of this community, I think. We have a lot of deputies and officers and other law enforcement live up in this area that were evacuated as well, their families. This is one county, and I think we'll throw this, but, you know, patience and seeing us, you know, meeting us in the middle really helps a long way. So I wish you the best. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I also just wanted to reiterate the drone thing. When drones are in the air, we can't fly, and you guys saw how important our air assets are for firefighting, so that just wanted to emphasize that. Nathan Goodrich, our Operations Section Chief, fire status. Yeah, I think so. Hopefully it won't hang you.
Good morning. Evac Northbrook's headset, I guess. Okay, so good news from the sheriff, huh? Yeah, so a lot of that is based on certainly the weather yesterday, the rain, that's certainly helpful, but a lot of it is attributed to the firefighters that are out there on the ground, doing a lot of good work, as well as, thank you for that, we'll pass that on to the folks out on the ground, as well as all the good work that was done by the local landowners and all the folks that came to help them out. That certainly helped in that firefight on all flanks of the fire. So I'll start with a fire overview of branch 1 or branch 2 today instead of branch 1, since that's where we're talking about some of those lowering of those evac levels. So Division Zulu, which is in that kind of northwestern corner of the fire, again, that's kind of been one of our colder divisions, if you will, had the most work done on it. And that's where we're starting to show a little bit of containment on the map. If you see that on Firewatch or Watch Duty or INCIWeb. And the crew's been working really hard in those areas. A lot of it's pretty accessible, roaded, as well as dozer lines. And so, again, coupled with the work that they've been doing and the help from Mother Nature yesterday, we're looking really solid in Division Zulu. And that's adjacent to where we're looking at lowering those evac levels to the west there. We are going to be keeping a little bit of a rind, if you will, pretty much around the entire fire, but essentially just to the west in Division Zulu there, that'll still be in a level 3, so that's not going to be everybody gets to go back into their houses, right up against the fire perimeter. There's a little bit of a rind there that we're going to keep in place for a couple more days, and in order to let the firefighters continue doing their work. But again, that's, I think it's Madison, anything west of Madison, and then El Chattaroy is going to be lowered on the evac levels. So Division Zulu, looking good, very busy, productive day yesterday, as well as today, and that's what they're going to continue doing for the next few days, continue to mop up, secure around those houses that are still there, and then and also the primary line. Moving down into X-ray, for folks that were here yesterday, I mentioned that was some of our hotter areas the first day that we took this fire over. That Enoch Road area was fairly busy. That's starting to come together really nicely. As you move from north to south on this incident, there's a lot more mosaic burn pattern, if you will, to the south, and so that means there's a lot of unburned fuel still out there, a little bit colder, harder black up towards the top, and so that means that there's lots more fire edge to deal with, a little bit more to the south. So the crews are working in there, not just around the houses, but along all those unburned islands, as well as the primary line, and working on those containment features that we put in place, whether that's hand line, dozer line, using the road as your line, and getting that all mopped up and secured. Moving down into Oscar, that was another one of our hotter divisions that we've had for the past couple of days. We were able to get dozer line around that southern portion. Looking like today we're going to be successful with having that complete all the way around to this west side, this southeast side here. And so that's starting to look really good. And that's another reason why we're looking at the southern evac areas to lower those levels, and that'd be that south of that Tallman Road that's right down in here. So all the good work that's been going into there, again, a lot of local landowners were down there working with tractors and dozers and such, as well as the firefighting resources. And again, just the rain and the good hard work the last few days has led to that easing of the evac levels and the potential for the fire to move any further to the south. So that's, again, looking really well in there. Division Kilo and moving up into Gulf, that has been our areas where we haven't had as many people over the past few days. So that's starting to be a little bit of our areas where we're going to have to be focusing in on for the next few days. But continued dozer line work, hand line, mop up and secure there in Kilo. And that's about that Deer Creek Road, kind of moving up towards Blanchard Road area, is that part of the fire. As you go from Blanchard up, so we start getting up into Branch 1, so Division Gulf, and that area is going to take us quite a bit more time, a few more days at least, to kind of stitch some of that stuff together. There's existing roads out there. There's still some unchecked pieces of fire along some of those timbered areas. Some of it's around some houses here and there, but predominantly, as you folks know, that eastern side of the incident is a little less populated, not as many structures up out there, a little bit more private timberland. So it's just taking a little bit more time with those different fuel types and a little bit more terrain to get some lines around it. But the crews are working out there in conjunction with the industrial private landowners and getting some lines secured from Blanchard north all the way up into Charlie, up on the Stimson property, and that's starting to come together pretty well overall. Some of the fire spread for the next, or the wind, I guess, potential for some spread is from the southwest, so that means that this top corner here has a little bit more potential to move around. But again, we do have lines in there, and it's pretty secure, but there still is some unburned fuel here and there, so we're keeping a close eye on that. So Gulf, Charlie, looking good, but a lot of work's going into that here for the next few days. Moving up into Division Alpha, so that's about that county line for Ponderay County and Spokane County. That again is one of our colder divisions, and so that led us to look at the area here around Spring Valley to lower that evac level as well in Ponderay County. So that was a 3, and we're going to lower that down to a 2. So again, a lot of good work's been done here on this northern tier. And folks are out there working hard and being productive, and we certainly got some help yesterday from Mother Nature. So those are our divisions and our branches. As I mentioned yesterday, we have a structure group in place, and the structure group is able to move around, throughout the entire fire. And those folks have been doing lots of good mop-up and securing around homes, mostly up in this area, certainly also down in Branch 2. But they've really been focusing on the damage assessments. And those damage assessments are, we put all the information from the site into a system. It's all cataloged, it's all mapped, and that's what we're going to provide to the fire district, to Red Cross, to FEMA, any of those folks that need that information for starting to work on that disaster assistance program and get you folks back into into some semblance of some sort of assistance for folks that have lost those places. But the structure folks have been working on that all the way across through the divisions and getting a lot of work done. Every time we go out there and look at it or fly the incident, less and less smoke, certainly less and less work needs to be done around those structures. Night shift, they were working last night with a little bit of heat still and kind of focusing in this central area here around that Enoch, Laurel Road and Conklin Roads area. But they had a good productive night and getting a lot of work done during the night shift. So I mentioned the weather, kind of a southwest wind for the next little bit. As we roll into this next weather frontal passage that's going to be coming, so lots of warmer, drier air, so temps are going to go up, relative humidity is going to go down, and the wind's going to be blowing from the southwest a little bit. So that's going to have the potential to pick up some of those unburned islands, predominantly on this south end, like I mentioned. You might see a little bit more smoke here and there, but that's also good for the fire folks to be able to kind of identify where some of those places are to be focusing in on. So over the course of the next few days, you're going to start seeing a little bit more potential activity in some of those places. For the folks that are going to be able to come back into some of those areas, those evac areas that haven't been able to be at their homes or closer to the fire perimeter, just want to give you an idea of what some of those conditions are out there. If you're in the evac area that's just west here of X-ray and Zulu, you're not going to be seeing anything right on the fire ground. As you get a little bit closer, though, you're going to still see some stump holes, what we call stump holes, stumps that are just kind of burning, and they start to melt into the ground, and they're going to be smoking. They're going to be smoking for a while. Most of those are in black areas, though, not a lot of potential for those to go anywhere. Those are probably some of the later things that we would be mopping up and cleaning up. So you're going to see some of that stuff. Logs, the ends of logs burning. Maybe there's a tree that fell over, and that's still kind of burning around a little bit. The fine fuels, you shouldn't see much of that stuff burning, but if you do, and you do see some smokes that are in areas of unburned fuel, that's the stuff we do want to know about. But we don't want to be inundated with all these calls about, oh, I see smoke, or I see a stump hole, or I see this. We've been getting that over and over, and that's good, so we know where some of that stuff is. But as we start to repopulate those areas, if everybody calls in every little smoke that they see, it's just going to inundate the system. And at some point, it's a little bit of a kind of cry wolf. It's like, okay, well, there's just another smoke report. So the folks are out there, they're on the lines, they know where those heat sources are. And again, if you see something that is truly threatening, some unburned fuels, or is something that really needs to be taken care of, we do definitely want to hear about that. As folks do start to repopulate some of those areas, there's down power lines. There's power poles that are burned off. There's still some low-hanging lines. There's trees that are coming down. Across even on Blanchard. There's a couple of trees that have come down across the road that have been cut out. So there's still lots of hazards out there. I would say don't go into the burned area and be walking around, because of some of those stump holes and such. But there's pretty low level potential for any kind of more escape or any more further fire spread. And like I said, the folks are going to be out there working and continuing to mop up as you guys get back into your homes and such. And again, give them a little bit of grace once you get in there. If we get to a point to where there's just no need for them to be around your property, around other places, we're going to pull out for sure. But if there's a need to be in there and get some of that stuff continue to be secured, then we're going to be doing that. So I think good news overall, certainly less potential for the fire to spread to the west and to the south. And again, that's why we lowered those evac levels. And the crews are going to continue to be working over the next few days, going into the higher temps and weather for the weekend. And just continuing to work, all the way around the perimeter. So probably the next 3 or 4 days look pretty similar to today. Just continued mopping up and securing and just making sure everything is looking really good out there. So, okay, so I'll be around for any questions afterwards, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, thanks Nathan. Next up is Matt Kane. Give us a little update on power stuff. He's from Inland Power, by the way.
Thank you. Good morning. Like I said, my name is Matt Kane. I'm the operations manager for Inland Power. As you probably all know, our system got hit extremely hard. We lost hundreds of poles, I think close to 9,000 feet of wire. We've had all hands on deck. We have all of our resources working around the clock. Most of our guys are working at 16 to 8 during the day because that's we can be most efficient. Like you said, some of the hazards out there, there's a ton of standing timber that's a hazard for our crews, but we're trying to get in there. We're trying to prep as much as we can. So when the time comes, when they lift evacuations, we can safely re-energize taps and get everybody back in power that we can. But I just want everybody here to know that Inland Power, we're fully committed to the members we serve and the members of this community. We've been around here a long time, and we're doing everything we can to get ahead and get power restored. It might be somewhat of a slow process because as we make our repairs, we have to run all of our requests through the proper channels because we don't want to re-energize something when it's not safe to do so. So it's just something to keep in mind for all of you. If hopefully not too many people are going inside the lines there, but there's a lot of generators running. Our guys are running into a lot of situations where you just need to, it's very important that you treat any power line that's on the ground as energized. You don't know if there's a backfeed situation. There might be something that gets torn down by a tree that's, laying in the middle of the road that could be energized. So don't assume that it's de-energized or it's dead if it's laying in the ground. There's a lot of hazards, but just take comfort knowing that Inland Power is doing everything we can to get ahead and get as much of the work done as we can.
Okay, let's open it up for any questions. Anybody have any questions? Oh, yes, ma'am. Right in front of you.
I have a couple of questions. Our property, we lost the home, but we still have a structure up that we're trying to protect, and there are roofs around. There is a gate, but we've left it open for the firefighters and for inland to be able to get out there. And I don't know how long we need to do that, and at what point we can actually secure the perimeter of our property.
Okay, really sorry to hear about your home. So she has a question about leaving her gate open and how long she should leave that open before they can secure their property. Not sure who.
Inland Fire, because we want to leave it open.
Why don't you come up, Chief?
I'm going to defer to Nathan a little bit on this. I've had this question the last couple days as well. And what I've asked folks to do is to just bear with us for a couple days, leave the gate open, and if there is any threat at all, that allows us to get in and do the job that we need to do. And as soon as we can let folks know that everything's secure and get you back in, then you can secure your property. But if the gate's closed, that doesn't allow us to get the access.
Why don't you get with Nathan
Thanks,
or
Chief.
Chief after this, and we can figure out exactly where your home is and potentially provide some more detail.
Last night the firefighters were there and we told them to go ahead and close the gate. It's not locked.
It's not locked, but it's
Okay.
shut.
Yeah, let's chat.
Thank you. I think there was a question here, and then I'll get to you. Thanks.
Currently, the outback says it's 0% contained. Do you know when they'll be emptying that? And then I have another question. How do you think this weekend's weather with it warming up, how do you predict you think that will affect your progress?
Okay, good question. So the question is that we still show 0% contained and wondering when we will show a containment level. And then how is this dry weather going to affect fire behavior?
Yeah, I'll speak to the containment piece, and then Nathan can talk about the second part of the question. So the containment percentage number, I feel, is almost a distraction. It's an artifact of an old document from FEMA from years ago, and it doesn't adequately share what work is being done on the ground. So I know that we all go to that number, 0, 10, and basically once we hit about 70%, to be honest, the fire is pretty well in hand. That 70 to 100%, it's just semantics at that point. But don't focus on that number. listen to the briefing and have an understanding of where the work's going down, and the black line will come after that. It's a delay, it's a lag, but there's a lot of work going on out there, and that's really what I'd like for you folks to focus on and have an understanding of what we're doing. But the percentage will come up, just know that as well.
I have a question to follow up with what you just said. You mentioned the word black line. Is that what I'm seeing up there, just east of Division Zulu?
Yeah, the black line question about on the map. So that's how we identify it. The maps, we got divisions, branches, a bunch of visuals on that. But once the red perimeter of the active fire turns into a black edge, that's where our containment percentage is. So that's where what that looks like. So look at the key on the maps if you can see those and get some more detail, but that's specifically what that means.
Yeah, just real quick to follow up with that, it doesn't really represent what truly is predominantly contained out there on the ground. That little black piece of line there only represents 4% of the entire perimeter. But it's a pretty good chunk of line that's secured. We're looking to increase that, maybe another, 2 or 3 inches on the map there in Zulu, and maybe even a little bit in X-ray later today. So that'll bump it up to maybe 10% or something like that. So it's a lot more secure than what the containment numbers say. As far as the weather coming in this weekend, with some increased temperatures, lower relative humidity, you'll start seeing a little bit more smoke maybe pop up. Some of those unburned islands might start to maybe rekindle or start to smolder a little bit more. Like I said, that's kind of good and bad. It shows us some of those hot spots that are out there. But right now, with the rain from yesterday and the higher humidities, they're just kind of sitting there, sort of hiding. And there's a lot of ground out there to do what we call cold trailing. So with your hand, you kind of get in there and feel for heat and stuff. And there's just a lot of places out there. There's still some unburned fuel. So it will be good to highlight some of those spots that are still hot, but then it also starts to maybe rekindle a little bit. So, but we'll keep a vigilant eye on it and be watching for that. So it's also a little bit of a good test when we get a wind, we get some higher temperatures and lower humidities. It'll show you some of your weak spots if you have any. And maybe up on that northeast corner, you'll start to see a little bit more smoke and such, because that's where more of that unburned fuel is at. So.
Moving forward, just for me, I'm not familiar with all your terms and progress, so maybe a lot of other people also look at containment as sort of comfort, because that's a familiar term. So maybe moving forward tomorrow, you can discuss the black line, because I think that helps me understand it better. Because containment's the only percentage I would be familiar with to even know progress. So.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
We weren't here yesterday, but we were here Monday. The numbers that we were given to call for FEMA and for the Red Cross, both of those numbers, they said there's zero help.
Okay, so the question was around the 1-800 Red Cross and the FEMA number, and you weren't.
There was zero help for anybody out there.
All right.
Too bad you weren't here yesterday. You would have heard my alibi. The FEMA number that I gave the other day, because there's not a federal declaration, they are not able to activate and take case information. That's a lengthy, not a lengthy process. It's involved, and you heard about the assessments being done. That's all part of the feeding of the information to FEMA so that the president can make a declaration. That's happening, okay? That's in the process. As far as Red Cross, I don't know why that answer was given. We have gone back to our call center